Level 5, practice problem 5.1 will be an optional problem to work with. This is better suited towards sheet metal, but we do need to introduce the planes and some of the terminology. So back in the olden days, the SolidWorks used to have, see if I can up that a little bit, have more word descriptions through lines and points. You picked sketch line geometry, points, edges, vertices. Parallel plane at a point is probably going to be one of the easiest and fastest to generate. Setting angles, you have the ability to flip and have the multiple solutions. Standard distance, normal to a curve, on surface, a point or endpoint of and a surface. So cylinders that we need to index or clock a some geometry to, maybe a hole wizard on the exterior of a cylinder. We'll be looking at that surface and some type of sketch to define the geometry. All right, so the other one was the 2010 version switched over to the primary, secondary, and tertiary, and it's just a matter of setting up the selections. So as you select, it gives you options as to what geometry you can create. The other thing that wasn't in that list is if you select an edge, select I believe a line, but definitely if you select an edge and go into sketch, whichever endpoint of the edge that you're closest to, a plane will show up at that, basically tangent to that point, tangent to that curve. All right, so this is millimeters, grams, and seconds, medium difficulty. The origin is in the bottom left, kind of floating off of the part. Lines, center lines, circles, sketch patterns, extrude boss, and our reference geometry for the plane. So this group will have plenty of planes. So let's see. Oh, I have not created this is a fresh install, so I have not created a metric template. So let's run back through that. Good chance to um, revisit. So if I just click millimeters, grams, and seconds, I'm going to get the units that were last set. So we're going to go to 2 decimal places for metric, and then I'm going to switch my dual dimensions to inches and just basically reverse. That's pretty much all I have to do to make a metric template. So we're going to do a file, save as always, go find the template, part template. All right, and that's going to take us to our default location, and we'll make a part millimeter template. All right, so again, if you've made that adjustment, you do things. You do not want to save anything into that template. It will be there forever. And remember that it will default when you go to save your new part, it will default to that last folder. You need to navigate to your new folder to make sure that that geometry or your part gets to the location. All right, so our planes are the front, the top, the right. Those are our defaults. Those will always be there. We haven't really talked about resizing, but the grips in the plane, if you need one a little bit bigger, a little bit smaller, you can't see it or it's too big, you can resize them. And then the origin is at the intersection of those 3 planes. All right, the easiest way to create an offset plane is pick the plane that you are going to offset. You'll get a move symbol, left click, hold down, and drag. And that will put you front plane, a distance off of, and if you want it to go the other way, flip the offset. If you want 10 of them, you can, let's see, is it tab? There they go. I had to click out in the work area. but I can set up 10 and they will each have the spacing that I give them. But when they're generated, I'll be able to define each one individually. So if they're, for whatever reason, I'm creating different gaps between them, between the planes, then I can go back and modify the distance on those planes after the fact. All right, so we mentioned the different items. We have parallel. So parallel at a point, I would select a second reference. The surface at a point, I would select a second reference. The angle usually needs an edge or a line to act as the axis that it's revolving around, or the axis the angle is in relation to. So there's different combinations as we encounter our planes. Those will give us a good set of tools to create our geometry. All right, so another look at this, the isometric view. The bottom of the part is sitting in the top plane. Um, the origin, all right, so our blue origin would indicate the front plane or the default front plane, and then the left side of the part aligned to the right plane. All right, so that all looks pretty straightforward. So we're going to go front plane, sketch, and I'm going to go with the easy. Let's make a rectangle. And then we're going to start dimensioning. We have 64 overall and 108 overall. All right, so if I go back into select, if I hit L on the keyboard, that puts me in the line. That is the same as going up to the command manager and selecting the line. And just notice that my tooltips with images is on. So at some point, I will want to turn those off. And since we are reviewing, let's go into the customize. Make sure that the lock command manager is on. Large tooltips with images. The large tooltips is fine. Size-wise, I'll have to check this video. This is the first video I've made since the refresh. So putting the dimensions on. If I go from point to point, that should still be okay for the vertical and the horizontal. When you pick an edge or a line, then it is going to build that geometry, and typically that edge is going to be an easier selection than going to the point. So I'm still going to go recommend object and that you build your geometry. So right click, get back into the select to kind of deciding what I want to do next. And looking at the geometry, we have a couple of circles. We'll go ahead and include those. And our edge that the bend starts along is given by the 54 and 35 degrees. The radius, don't see any issues with including that, and would appear that those radiuses are going to be the centers of, also be the centers of the circles. So we go into the entities to fillet, and our radius is 12. Then again, your selection for the sketch fillet is the vertice, where the two lines intersect. If the lines don't intersect, you can always select two objects, and it will give you the similar results. We can dimension each fillet individually. So if, for some reason there were different sizes, if I dimensioned each fillet, I could go back and change them accordingly. All right, so the circles go in, and we'll jump into the dimension. Again, that was a right click and into the smart dimension. Still not in the habit or comfortable always with going to the left click, but left click just doesn't give you the full list, and sometimes the full list is handy. So select, hold down the control button, select, and we're looking for equal. Make sure that you're giving it that little pause so the context menu has a chance to pop up. Usually it will flash and disappear if it doesn't have a chance to load the image. So we're going to do a line, so command manager line, corner to corner. At this point, these should be pretty comfortable. I don't know that, let's see, that went 54, that you should have a pretty good handle on that. So any two non-parallel lines are going to give you the angle, and there is our 35 degrees. All right, the object then is at the bottom. Our region is this center. So when we go to extrude, it is coming this direction. And apparently I did put that in the front plane. All right, so we're going to get a chance to do a minor correction. All right, so from the volume standpoint, let's see, do I really need to correct this geometry? All right, well, I will mention the sketch plane. If I really wanted this in the top plane, we do have the ability to right-click, select the edit sketch plane, and go from the front plane over to the top plane. Have a 50-50 chances which way it's going to go, but it will do that. So I'm out of the features, so I can go directly back into the extrude boss base, pick the region, my selected contours is highlighted, and our distance is 4 millimeters. And we go ahead and accept that. All right, for the angle geometry then, this is one of those, we're going to do this the safest way, and then we'll also preview it with what I was mentioning about the edge in the sketch. All right, so the first reference is going to be the line. The second reference should be the point. All right, so curve, edge, line, and a point will give you a plane. I don't necessarily need a second plane, but let's go to this side. And just by selecting that edge and going back in and selecting sketch, did it put it on? Kind of put it on plane one. So I think it just, oh, there it is. It didn't show up. So I would have been sketching on plane two. So you do have to generate the sketch, and then when you exit it, it shows the plane. So either one, we'll use plane two. Again, you don't need plane one, but the other thing with the planes is going to be making sure that that the geometry makes sense, that you're looking at this in the correct orientation. So I don't have anything to make a tangent arc to. I could do the 3-point arc. I could also, let's see, probably need to be in plane one for that one to work. So let's just go ahead and generate a center line from the origin, and it's showing it to be 90 degrees, and I just want to give it some distance so that it is defined. All right, so now I have the tangent arc will come off of that geometry. The line is given as 112. And now that I have kind of that perception, that that orientation, I can do Control 8, and there's just as good a possibility as I would have drawn it that way as that way, to the right as opposed to the left. And so that being the case, let's go ahead and close that off. And then we'll look for the perpendicular and bring it down some distance. I could also do the offset. Wanted to make sure that the tangent arc is also going to the base. Now those should be concentric. So we're looking to make those concentric our overall height. Let's go ahead and pull this in. We have 112, a radius of 12 on the bottom side, so that would be radius of 8 interior and 14 on the back edge. So smart dimension, make sure that we're staying in the linear. All right, so move it around until you get that geometry in place. And then we have the 112. Center line's also going to help being able to define that geometry. All right, so we are missing more than likely a tangent. So I have perpendicular, the angle, and if I go to drag that, I'm going to see that it generates that sharp. So just more for experience than anything, tangent, dealing with lines and arcs, if you are underdefined, look for a tangency first. All right, we're ready to extrude this out, and it is going to go to a vertex. So the vertex is the intersection, a point, intersection of the two edges, 3 edges, and that will give us our geometry. All right, the plane expands to kind of encompass the whole part. If I don't want it to do that, let's make sure the plane is selected and do a Control 8. I can kind of resize it, but this is only for my visual. It's not really doing anything as far as the model. So we go back to the Control 7, the isometric, and then rotate around and over, can kind of see where that plane is passing through the part a little bit better. Once we're done, we're going to hide. We can always come back to either one of those planes and create geometry. So let's go ahead and save this. We'll see what so it did default back to the templates. Let me make that a little bit bigger, help with the navigation. And I am looking for my parts. Okay, found my folder. We're going to create a new folder for my assignment 6, which will be level 5. I probably should start denoting those as a reminder, so something along those lines. Name it to what makes sense, and we have the notation and just be consistent. All right, so 5-1. Again, I don't like the periods in the name. We usually just leave that for the extension. We'll go ahead and save it. All right, our evaluate, and then we want to mass properties. We have 28,861.9. Theirs is 28,862. So we'll take that and call that one a win.